Today on Sagittarian Matters, we're talking about fashion, mushrooms, and so much more with our producer, Chris Sutton. Stay tuned.
Sagittarian Matters, Sagittarian Matters. What's the matter with you? Sagittarian Matters.
Hello from the Sagittarian Matters Social Distancing Studios in Tahunga, California. Listeners, it is a rainy day, and the way I am dressed on this day, I look just like Bunny from Only Murders in the Building. If you have seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the show, don't worry about it. We're just going to keep going. I just got back from Las Vegas, where I was a special guest at the Vegas Valley Comic Book Festival. Thank you to everybody who came to that and came to our graphic memoir panel, mine with Jean Munson. I wanted to tell you the thing I ate in Las Vegas, in case you are a vegetarian traveling there. I really loved it. It was Chef Kenny's Vegetarian Chinese. I got crispy, spicy eggplant. It was crispy, it wasn't spicy. It was sweet and salty eggplant that had been manipulated within an inch of its life and was so delicious. If you don't care about nutrition, like if you're not stressing yourself out trying to get a green vegetable and a protein, just get that, get a heap of that and just keep eating it until you pass out and just feel so happy about what you got. But if you want to get a second dish, which I did, so you can mix and match a little bit, the other thing I recommend is the sizzling tofu and vegetable plate. The tofu in that plate, also I asked for extra broccoli. What did I get? Maybe less broccoli. I was punished for asking. But I got the tofu was big blocks of tofu that had possibly been blanched because it was creamy on the inside. Not globby like a silken tofu, but kind of creamy on the inside. And then the skin of the tofu was almost like an age. It wasn't sweet like that, but it was that bean curd skin. It was kind of a traditional bean curd as opposed to an age tofu. And it was such a delight. I loved it. I was so happy when I got the food. I got it delivered. And I recommend that to you the next time you're in Las Vegas. What else? I just did Weirdo Night at Zebulon with Dynasty Handbag, and Dynasty Handbag, aka Jibs Cameron, friend to the show, did some voices. I read from Fetch, I read Beja's Manifesto, and Jibs read voices of my stepdad, my mom, some of my roommates from when I was in my 20s. Thanks to everybody who came to that. And here I am. Here I am dressed as Bunny from Only Murders in the Building. I'm doing one more event this week I want to tell you about before I get to Love is Blind. This week, Thursday, November 10th, I am going to be doing a talk. It's online. It is at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. It is for I'm going to read it, it's long, the Feminist and Accessible Publishing and Technologies Practices Speaker and Workshop Series. If you want to find tickets, they're free on Eventbrite. You can just look me up and look that up. It's on my website. I will be posting it in my stories up until the day of the event. Please come. I will be talking about podcasting, graphic novels. I don't know yet. But whatever it is, let's have a good time and bring some questions. Okay, I need to talk to you about Love is Blind. Love is Blind Season 3. I have begun watching. I'm not sure why. I started watching Love is Blind Season 3. I watched Season 1 during quarantine, made fun of it with my friends, thought I was out for the count, but here I am back again. If you've never seen the show, the premise is this. It's a general dating show for heterosexuals where they are put in quote-unquote pods, also known as a room with a partition down the middle, and they have to fall in love without seeing what each other look like. How can you tell they fell in love? Well, after 1 to 2 weeks, in order to continue on the show and become characters in the show, they have to ask someone to marry them sight unseen. So they've been having conversations for 2 weeks, but with the magic of reality television and Stockholm Syndrome and them having nothing else to do but think about each other, they quote unquote fall in love and ask each other to get married. And then they see each other for the first time when they go to give the other one the ring. That's the show. It is what it is. It's very transparent. I'm in the middle of episode 5 where a man who is a fitness man partnered with a speech pathologist is telling her straight to her face. Her name is Nancy. I don't remember what his name is. Bartiz, the fitness guy, is telling Nancy, the speech pathologist, that he actually clicked physically with someone else more, a fellow fitness person, but that he guesses the two of them have an emotional connection. He's basically saying it to Nancy's face, I'm not into you physically, but it seems like we get along. I don't like it. I'm not into you, Bartiz. I don't like what you're doing here. I think you got to go. Nancy, don't marry him at the end of the week. Yeah, if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. No spoilers, but there's a spoiler for you. I don't know what happens at the end of episode 5. Maybe she kicks him to the curb. I don't know. Listeners, this week I'm talking to producer Chris Sutton. We haven't spoken for the podcast together in I think at least 2 years. He joined me in the Sagittarian Matters social distancing studios via Zoom, where we talked about our teenage fashion, we talked about lion's mane mushrooms, and so much more. So please enjoy my talk with producer Chris Sutton. Have a great week. If you want to support the show, if you want to support producer Chris, you can PayPal him, hornetleg@gmail.com, or he's got a Venmo, HE_books at Venmo. If you want to support me separately, my art, go to patreon.com/NicoleJGeorges. There's a lot of good stuff there for you, and I post new comics at least every month. Have a great week. Talk to you soon. Dawn Riddle is a multidisciplinary artist from Portland, Oregon. She's a brilliant painter, weaver, photographer, musician, playwright, cafe owner, videographer, residency runner, and unsolicited vegan food review correspondent.
1, 2, 3. Unsolicited vegan food reviews, completely and totally unsolicited reviews for you. What are they gonna say? We didn't ask for it, but we got them anyway.
Hello, podcast listeners. Here I am, Dawn Riddle, again with an unsolicited vegan food review for you. Today's review is actually based on a gift that friend to the show, Morgan, gave me. I gave her a key to my house, and like an angel, she reverse burgled me and left me some delicious looking pan pizza in, what's it called when the pizza's square? Whatever that kind of pizza is. She gave me that with an item she has been singing the praises of for at least a year that I've never had, which is broccoli stem pepperoni. So it looks like she's thinly sliced the broccoli stem and added seasonings. And I'm going to review this item that Morgan made. Oh, it's so good. Wow, it really has a pepperoni flavor. I do not know what spices she put on it, but it's like, tastes like pepperoni. It's like smoky and tangy and a little circle on a pizza. And that's the definition of pepperoni, I'm fairly sure. So I urge you to reach out to Morgan and get that recipe. 10 out of 10.
Chris Sutton is a musician and a broadcaster living in Portland, Oregon. He lives with his partner Karen and his daughter Vivian. You can listen to Chris hosting his weekly radio show, Record Lections, on X-Ray FM, or you can find him playing music in one of many bands he's recorded with, like Dub Narcotic Sound System, Hornet Leg, Spider in the Webs, Hooded Hags, and more. Or you can find him producing podcasts across the web, like this one, or for theringer.com. Now please welcome back to the Sagittarian Matters Social Distancing Studios, producer Chris Sutton.
So in middle school, you're always trying to follow the trends, or I was anyway. But at the same time, like we were a pop culture family, but at the same time, we didn't have the money to get like the really, really cool stuff. So a lot of what happened my middle school years was like the almost like 2 striped Adidas, and I was really into Dwayne Wayne from different world. So I had like those glasses, but like I forget they would call it. There's like Forever 21s, but there was like this equivalent, and then I bought them from it. It was like Claire's. Is Claire's
Yeah.
Claire's real. So I had those, and the one thing that was the cringiest thing was that there was this trend that everybody would wear college sweatshirts, like
Oh, yeah.
like big football teams. And the one that I chose, because I think it was probably like on sale or something, it was like a situation where my mom got it or whatever, because I was like 12. I got like a BYU one, right?
Okay.
And I had no idea.
Is that the Mormon University?
Yes, the largest one in Utah. It was just like, yeah, I couldn't. And I wore it all the time, like with pride, but I didn't like get it. I wasn't really like particularly sporty, or
Yeah.
anything. So, but I think I was just trying to like just kind of keep up what was going on. And so some of those pictures like that, and there was a lot of spandex, which is, neither here nor there, but I was really into spandex, and my mom worked at a fabric store. So there's a lot of spandex.
What do you mean there was a lot of spandex?
A lot of spandex.
Like, who else was wearing spandex at your middle school?
Everybody. Oh my God. Wait,
What?
Does this happen to you?
What are you talking about?
This doesn't happen to you.
I mean, I wore like bike shorts, right? Like spandex bike shorts.
Well,
Are we what year are we talking?
How old are we talking? Let's get this on the table.
I mean, this is the thing, is you're a hair older than me.
I might be old. Like, I feel like me and Kaya are probably the same age.
But my sisters are a little older than you, so they went through a lot of teen 80s trends, and I don't remember the spandex happening for them.
God. Well, I just remember it taking over my school. And this is like, I want to say late 80s. I'm going to say like 89, right before grunge. And so hair metal was still happening. I mean, now that it's coming out of my mouth and coming out of my brain, I was really obsessed with hair metal.
So this was like a hair metal kind of spandex, not like an aerobics to school kind of spandex?
Well, they were shorts. Well,
okay.
So now we're peeling back another layer, because I was also obsessed with shorts. And I thought I only looked good in shorts. So I would just wear shorts. And so there was like, I'd double them up, I'd have like spandex, and I'd have like some like tattered situation on top of it. But here's the thing, my mom worked in a fabric store. So like she would bring all this stuff home, and then she was pretty good. She was a really good seamstress for a while. And so, she made all of my clothes, for better or for worse. There was like a French fry outfit that was very scarring. So
was it Halloween or just every day?
There's a lot of stories of me like building myself up about something and then having it like very Charlie Brown style kind of fallout, Lucy kind of like Icarus touching the sun, like kind of getting burned or whatever.
Yeah.
A story I just told the other day was about, I was really into doing my own tie-dye, right? And this is
me too.
This is 8th grade. So I did a tie-dye shirt, and I put my name on it, right, with fabric paint. So
wow.
But it said Chris M, my middle initial, and Sutton, right?
Yeah.
So I made the M really big,
Okay. Yeah.
And so like I wore it, and I saved it for this field trip. Like we're going on a field trip to like a Native American, like, no, I think it was you could take a ferry to it from Seattle. Like it's a big, I imagine just like a regular like school trip kind of thing, and I was so stoked to wear it. And there was like, I can't remember if there was like a girl I liked or something or whatever, but I wore this shirt and I was so excited. And the whole day, nobody could read it right. They're like, what does M stand for? Or Chris Sutton, and they would like, I was just so disappointed. It wasn't a big deal, but
it
really
stands for magical.
I put it up there, but that happened with a lot, like with clothes. So I mentioned the French fry outfit.
Yeah.
So my mom, and I thought I co-signed on this. I completely greenlit this idea.
Okay.
6th grade. So I was just like, oh, hey, I want a top and a bottom outfit. And I picked out this fabric that had like French fry designs all over it.
That's cool.
Right.
All
But
these things are cool. The tie-dye shirt sounds cool.
yes. Well, as old punks, old, body posse punks,
Mhm.
of course it's cool. Yes, it's cool. But, you know, uh, instantly when I showed up, it became an issue. There
Wait,
was
what did it look like? Can you describe the outfit?
Well, it was more,
Completed.
it was kind of like, it wasn't like there's no hammer pants, but we're like kind of moving in that direction,
I had hammer pants.
right? Oh man.
Imagine how cool I looked in hammer pants.
Oh
Not
my
cool at
God.
all. Not
So here's the thing. So I'm from Lacey, Washington, which is definitely not a metropolitan kind of like trendsetter zone. And so I remember there was one kid who did the vanilla ice, like complete vanilla ice hair, and then wore hammer pants, but were like real hammer pants, like his parents were rich. But
Oh.
he was the only person, like everybody knew about hammer pants, they thought they
Yeah.
were cool, but nobody thought they could pull them off. But this kid, and I remember that, like he was like, I don't know, he was sort of like treasured and ridiculed at the same time. It was like middle.
Familiar.
But no, man, it was yeah, hammer pants. That's such a step. But now, like when you go to the mall, like kids just dress crazy. Like I'm really jealous of the modern teenager. They can be whoever they want. It's really exciting.
Okay, so Chris, I was ambitious. I was fashionably ambitious. Like my mom supported me being ambitious in the same ways. And it
Mhm.
sounds like your mom supported you in being fashionably ambitious.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't have the popularity to back it up. So it wasn't like the coolest girl in school is showing up in hammer pants, you know? So
But you did it. But you did it. That's
my
the
God.
thing.
And they had a matching jacket, I think. So they weren't that kind of structured gold pants. They
Yeah.
were like a fabric, and it was like a maroon and black striped, and then the wings of the pants that came around the
Yes.
front and buttoned
Yeah.
were like at opposite, like either black on the inside and then striped
Yeah.
on the outside, and then a matching blazer that had
Yeah.
the same motif. And I think I wore that to elementary school in Gainesville, Florida.
Man, that's amazing. I bought a hat. Me and my friends, I think I was like a freshman in high school, and me and my friends like hopped in the car of this other person who had a driver's license, and we drove up to Seattle. And we were all obsessed with this shop, and it was like in the same area that had like John Fluvog store,
Oh, cool.
Doc Martens, but we're talking like the 90s. So that was like,
That's
was
the
like
height of cool.
patchouli and underground, and like it's the coolest shit. So we went there, and there was also this clothing store that was upstairs. It was like this huge warehouse place, and I found this amazing like velvet hat. I was really obsessed with Fishbone too. For anybody who doesn't know who Fishbone is, they dress really crazy, and I was really inspired by that, and I bought this big mushroom hat. Like it wasn't like we're not talking like Dr. Seuss though. It was like more. I want to say we're leaning towards like a King Arthur's like jester, not a jester, but like the person
Like a chef's hat?
like the person in the movies that holds like the pillow with the ring on it or whatever, like
Mhm.
in like Cinderella, like that kind of hat. It wasn't a
Yeah.
chef hat, but it had like a brim, and it had like this mushroom situation, and I never wore it. I loved the hat, but I never wore it because I didn't want to answer for it. Like I was so scared of it. I'd wear it at home and like around, like if we were going, okay, I wore it to some shows, but I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers in it, and I think like I saw that one other band, but I never wore it like out. And I was always like, that's always something I think about from high school. It's like, oh, I just held back, But I had all these fashion things, it was always like when you live in Lacey and you're biracial, it's and all this other stuff. It was like trying to figure out, I mean, that's a whole another podcast, but like trying to figure out how to fit into that situation, you know, and still be an individual. You know, I was still inspired by punk and music and stuff. It was such like, I remember that being such like a tightrope, and it took me until, I don't know, maybe like my senior year before I was like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna be this, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, it would all, but I remember talking about fashion, you know, there's all these clothes, all these ways I wanted to express myself that were all suppressed by, like, you know, stuff in my head.
Oh my God. And look, now you could do anything. Wait, will you tell me what the French fry outfit ended up looking like? What was the silhouette?
Oh yeah, right. So it, like, we're talking like, it was like kind of a sweatpants pant that went out, that kind of ballooned out, and it had like elastic at the cuffs at the ankle.
Of
So it
course.
kind of came out and came together. And then the shirt was kind of like a hockey jersey.
I would wear that, right? I would wear that today.
And it was like, you know, it was like French fries, and then like French fries written in different languages,
Oh, cool.
kind of thing.
Pommes frites.
Like pump, yeah, it
Yeah.
was something like that. So I was like international. I was really into Carmen Sandiego. So like, I feel like there's just a lot of things I was trying to express or whatever. But
Oh my God. I love that. My mom, is kind of fake Italian because she's not Italian, but her husband's Italian. So she's taken it on, and she has like an apron. She'll have aprons with like so many different Italian words all over them, just all over the front, like Mamma Mia,
Yeah,
just all over the front.
Italians love that, you know. It's like you just have all your little words right there.
Yeah.
Karen's
while
Italian. She loves being reminded all the time.
She does. Yeah. My mom, well, see if Karen will go for this. Just put on the Godfather soundtrack one day
Oh
while
man.
you're making a sauce. That's
Oh,
my mom's jam.
right. And cutting garlic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she is not Italian, but she will, as she's canning tomatoes, making the sauce, making a traditional Italian wedding soup, she will be jamming to the Godfather soundtrack.
Right. So does she like the movies? Is there like an Italian connection? Like, she was just like, oh, they're beautiful people.
Well, my stepdad's Italian, so she just is.
There you go.
She's like, me too. Do you remember when we were have I already talked about this in the podcast, when we were in Serbia and then I saw someone get stabbed?
Right. Yeah. Well, didn't you send a text to
I don't
me
remember.
about that? Like, there was like, we were talking about that. But yeah, the Serbia trip was, yeah. And like, the thing is that since then I've learned a bit about Serbia, and like, we were actually in a pretty chill area.
We were in a chill area, but still there was a knife fight. It was like, we're at this music festival and Beth Gossip played, but then also Beth sang with Duran Duran.
Right. Yes. We met Simon Le Bon.
Oh my God. Like, your dressing room was right next to Duran Duran's. And the way we knew is because there's like a printed out piece of paper off a printer that just says Duran Duran on it.
Yeah, man. And they're just like cool older guys.
We could hear them warming up like across the particle board. And then on the way back, we're in these vans leaving this giant festival. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hungry, because I was the only vegan anywhere. And so we pulled over so I could get some corn, and the corn vendor is like making the corn. And then I hear this woman screaming, and I'm like, shut up. And then I look, and she's screaming because her boyfriend's like, oh, and his hand is on his bare back because he's not wearing a shirt. And then he moves his hand, and there's like a knife wound. And then some other, like, there had been like a tussle, and then one guy stabbed the other guy, and then she was like, ah, and he was like, and then the corn guy just kept making that money. He just kept finishing whatever
that's just the day in the life.
He was like, you know what? People get stabbed, but I'm getting my for donor or whatever the money was. I don't remember.
You know what? That person isn't buying any corn, so I don't really care.
It's like, don't look at. He kind of was like, don't worry about them. Don't worry about that guy who just got stabbed. He's gonna be fine.
Welcome to Serbia.
Let's finish this transaction, and we did finish the transaction. And then I think Kurt saw the police like just pick up the knife and put it on their dashboard, and that's how they were collecting evidence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just another knife. Oh, we've seen this knife before.
Oh yeah.
How much are you paying attention to politics and whatever's going on?
I do go on Twitter every day, so I see like the scalding hubbub,
right,
of different things.
For you list, right?
Yeah, kind of like I see the things that the people I follow are tweeting about.
Right.
But I've not as much post-COVID.
So post-COVID, you're like you've kind of
Post COVID, I'm giving my brain a little
detached.
bit more of a rest, and I'm
Detached.
having like a little bit more of like trying to play Tetris and take lion's mane mushroom for my
Oh my God.
brain.
Oh my
And
God.
then, are you
We have to
on?
stop right there. Stop right there.
Yeah.
Dude, this is one of the things on the list. I've become obsessed with lion's mane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I take it every day. It changed
I've
my
been
life.
taking I've been taking it every day for the past 3 months to try to get my brain back.
For how do you feel?
I mean, I feel like it's working. After COVID, I felt like the same way I felt after I had a concussion, where I would walk into a room and just, it wasn't like the normal feeling of like, what am I here for? But it was just like, how did I even get in here?
Right.
What's happening? Am I alive? Like, what's happening? And so I've been taking lion's mane every day. I have a lion's mane. Maybe I'll get this for you as some kind of present. I got this like special, like Hawaiian, like mushroom company lion's mane cocoa that I take, or I put in my smoothie, and then I take just the regular supplements. I've been trying to take as much as I can every single day.
Well, you're taking a bunch of it.
I'm taking as much as I can, and then I'm playing Tetris, because I read somewhere that is one of the things that people do when they're recovering from a concussion or some kind of other kind of brain thing, to try and get like their neural pathways jumping again.
Yeah, but you feel a difference though.
I think so. I mean, I can't completely tell yet. I feel like, but I am a lot better.
I feel it completely changed me.
How so?
Like it was all the kind of things that you were mentioning, but it was more like immediate. So what I started off with a supplement that had lion's mane in it. And so it was at a time when there was no depression going on, but it was more or less like, it was very cloudy. Like I was like, I was like at my old job and stuff, and I was trying to like, I was like, oh, what am I gonna, what's going on next? Like, I'm not in a rut, I'm busy, but what am I doing? And so just like somehow on an aside, like I'd read something or saw something and they were talking about like lion's mane or whatever. And I was like, well, I used to love psychedelic mushrooms, so I might as well just, hey, let's try this out. And it's in gummy form. I'll eat anything in gummy form. So
Are you taking a gummy?
oh yeah. Oh, totally. No, it's great. And so I took one, but this one had like a bunch of different kinds of things in it.
Like ginkgo?
I don't know. It was but it was like fungus for like, your gut, and like it was sort of like a multi kind of faceted kind of supplement. And it was okay, and I was like, oh, it kind of changed things, and I was a little more, it was like less cloudy, and like I was just like, I was able to sort of, and I was kind of like visualizing stuff more, to the point where I think that I actually mentally changed my reality, not in a psychedelic way, but like as far as like, well, kind of psychedelic, but so, I was like, things have to change. Like, I don't know what they have to be, but they have to be changed, and they have to be these things, and I kind of want like a boost in this area. And, I got a kid and stuff, we're trying to figure stuff out. And I was like, oh, I kind of need to make, X amount of dollars or whatever. And I had sort of wrote down this plan. I was thinking about it. I was like thinking about these things, and it materialized. Like almost all these things that I wanted to happen materialized. And so, and I sort of, I felt like I owed it to this mushroom thing.
Yeah.
So, but like at the same time, I love astrology. Like I believe in it only because I've seen it work. The whole thing, once I started explaining it to somebody who is not a non-believer, how it's hard to like, like, well, it is kind of crazy, but the whole thing is that I've seen it work. So, and I mean, this is a similar kind of thing. So once I just switched to something 3 months ago that was just lion's mane, like a lion's mane only gummy. And like, I feel like Buddha, like I'm just like, everything's chill. Like I'm able to sort of like, my job's pretty busy. I'm able to sort of take on all this stuff and sort of go like another level. Just a lot of things were sort of materializing. Like I don't feel like Professor X or something, but I really feel like there was this sort of a shift that kind of turned up something. And I like my mood, everything has been super stable.
The world is waiting for you.
And it's a gay-mazing world.
I'm Karen Tongson.
And I'm Nicole J. Georges.
And we're the hosts of The Gay-Mazing Race, a new limited series podcast about the amazing race, your favorite reality competition show from an LGBTQ point of view.
We are going to talk to gay-mazing guests, including Oswald Mendez, Team Guido, the Married Lesbian Ministers, and more. Plus, we will learn behind-the-scenes gossip, trivia, we'll talk about gay villains, the closet, archetypes, processing challenges that we just can't forget, and more.
And beyond that, you'll also have a gay-mazing soundtrack scored by the Kaya Wilson. This music has been described as Enya-esque with Druidic energy.
So listen to us, The Gay-Mazing Race, wherever you get your podcasts.
Gay-mazing race, the gay-mazing race, the gay-mazing race.
I knew Don Riddle was a star when I was in line with Kaya and her best friend Lindsay, who's not a podcast listener. We were going to go to Disneyland and we were stuck in traffic at 9 o'clock in the morning inside the parking structure. Just like heinous, stuck in traffic in a parking structure. And Dawn had just sent me one and I played it for everybody. And Lindsay was like, I love that. She's like, who is that? She has a great voice. Oh my God, she's so funny.
Dude.
It was a perfect thing.
Oh man. Yeah. I think the dream, we need to, if we had like a Voltron situation, like with
what's a Voltron situation?
Well, the Voltron cartoon, it's all about a massive walking robot made up of 6 other robots, right? That come together to form like a big thing,
So our Voltron would be who?
So Voltron, well, obviously you're the head, right? You're
Thanks.
like the cat head or whatever it is. And then you don't know what Voltron is?
I feel like I do and I don't. Is this from Transformers?
No, it's ladies and gentlemen, the only cartoonist who does not know what Voltron is. No, just kidding. Just kidding. You don't have to know. That's some nerdy shit. But so anyway, bunch of robots making one big robot, like I said, like an all-sex podcast with Brandy Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Although when I talked to her last time, it seems like she wanted to like be a more general advice giver, but I feel like the sex advice was always very straight, and then you have Beth Pickens, who has her own group already, amazing podcast, Morgan, Don Riddle.
Oh yeah. That's a good team.
And then I would say Michelle T, but I feel like she's like her own spaceship right now.
I mean,
She's
both.
She's always blown up, but she's
always blowing up. She's her own spaceship.
Have you been following Brontez Purnell?
Yes. Well, I was supposed to go on tour with Brontez, and then I was going to have him on the podcast while we were on tour, and neither of us ended up going on the tour.
I'm so into like the stuff that he's been up to. He's blowing up so hard right now.
Casting gold.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, and it's also in a way, he's also blowing up in the channels that he's supposed to. It's not in a way that's like uncontrollable. Like he's completely in control of his persona, mainly because I think you have to be kind of in touch with the counterculture to even understand what he's doing. But like, I mean, he's like a hero to me. Just as far as like the stuff that he's been putting out, like writing or just even performing, or even his Instagram feed, it's like it's very unique. Nobody else is really doing it, and mainly because they don't have the personality or really the confidence to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I've just known him from he was the other. Whenever I was going on tour, he was always the other black guy because he moved around a lot, and I toured around a lot, so we ran into each other all the time, like in towns.
What was the band that he toured with? Not Gravy Train. Was it Veronica Lipgloss? What was the band he toured with? He was like the dancer.
Oh, Gravy Train.
No, it wasn't Gravy Train. It was pre-Gravy Train.
Before Gravy Train.
It was a different band. It was like a band that was playing like there was someone in the band named Jizz. And it was a band that came and played like a punk show in a basement, and Brontes just stripping down and like dancing in someone's fucking basement with like the pole in the middle of the room.
Classic.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I've seen him so many places, and anybody that's known him has always has a wild story. But he's also like really sweet too, you know.
Oh yeah. He's a definite, he has to come on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. But he's like, you know, he's definitely like he's a true artist. So, you know, like, you know, we're getting into like, you know, it's like we know some true artists, you know, like Beth Ditto, you know, maybe time is a man-made construct, you know. So sometimes you have to we create our own realities. I'll put it that way.
What I'm getting into again is the Golden Girls.
Yes.
I got invited onto a Golden Girls podcast. I haven't been on yet, but I was like, please.
Yes, totally. Who's your favorite?
Sophia.
Sophia's your favorite.
Yeah.
Mine's Dorothy.
Oh yeah. I'm having kind of a Dorothy renaissance. I'm getting a weird crush on Dorothy.
Dorothy is she's a goddess. In fact, you know, when I think about B. Arthur, it's hard for me to think about anybody similar, you know, just even with her the mod stuff. And I think like I went down like a B. Arthur rabbit hole, and I saw like these young like sort of stage performances, like when she was like in her 20s. Like she was always riveting, you know. And I think that's probably why my mom liked her, you know. I mean, she's like, her deadpan is just as good as any classic comedian, like that look. And rewatching, I did a rewatch maybe about a year or two ago where I went through all the seasons, and you know, it's actually it was amazing for me that all four of those people, they actually got those four people to be in the same show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I know Rue McClanahan and who was Sophia, what's her Estelle Getty, you know, they weren't really famous before, but Betty White was already like an all-timer, like a Hall of Famer.
So you know that like famously Betty White and B. Arthur like didn't get along.
What?
B. Arthur didn't really like Betty White.
Tell me more. Oh.
There's all this gossip. Now that I'm listening to Golden Girls podcast, I'm learning lots of goss. Well, so I think that like because B. Arthur came from the theater and Betty White came from TV.
Yes.
B. Arthur had this like just really different way of being, this different level of professionalism. And totally. And Betty White would kind of like work the crowd, ham it up with the crowd, was very liked by the crowd, like would really like but B. Arthur had the fourth wall very firmly in place.
Right.
And so I think she was kind of, and so of course people were like, you know, Betty White just had that warmness to her that everybody just went towards.
Right.
And then B. Arthur was like the anchor of the show, that wasn't her scene.
Right. And, you know, on sort of, you know, androgynous in a little ways too.
I think she was a closeted gay person. I think if this was a different time, something different might have happened for her. Let me tell you a quote I found the other day.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it. She basically said, I wrote it somewhere, but I don't remember where. I've been looking at, there's all these interviews with her, and I know, I took a screenshot. She basically told an interviewer that she thought a lot of comedians came out as gay. Oh, here we go. Yes, I agree. A very large percentage of comedians are lesbian. Most? I don't know about that. But give the ladies time. Most are still in the closet.
Right. But then, you know, after what you just said, I wonder if she considers herself, after the story you just told, I wonder if she considers herself a comedian, you know, and instead of like an actress, you know.
I don't know.
I mean, she was on two major things that were called like sitcom, you know, like Mod.
Yeah.
But, you know, what struck me about, you know, like watching her act, you know, it didn't seem like the Stanley angle, like seemed natural because they're in a dysfunctional natural. Like I kind of understood that. But when they started to try to branch out, or she like went on a date, or like there was like a guy, like not that she's riveting, but at the same time, like the chemistry, besides the Stanley character, there wasn't any chemistry. It's like when you watch episodes of Ellen before she came out,
Yeah.
it's still, even at the time, it didn't make sense, even before she came out. And so there's like, Dorothy has that kind of thing, but like, I often wonder if like maybe I'm putting on her pedestal in a way and making her sort of beyond sex because she's up on this thing. Like that
She's
does
just very
happen.
different.
Yeah.
Well, she also famously didn't like to wear shoes. So a lot of times when they were rehearsing, or sometimes like in certain episodes, when there's a wide angle that maybe wasn't originally planned, she's not wearing any shoes.
Interesting. Wow. What is this podcast called?
I've been listening to Out on the
Lanai.
Lanai.
Wow.
I can't,
Good
I
name.
have to say, may or may not get on the podcast. I don't find their personalities stunning, but I think that if you look up the episodes that Alaska Thunderfuck is on, Alaska is a drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race, who's a Golden Girls super fan.
Yes.
She's a super fan, and she's been a special guest on some of their episodes. And that's how I got in, because I was looking for a podcast to listen to while I was drawing. And I was like, well, I love Alaska's personality.
Sure.
And I've exhausted her own podcast that she has. And so let me see other things that she's been on. I was like, oh, she was a guest on this Golden Girls podcast. There's another one called So Good We Named It, which is the only Golden Girls podcast hosted with 2 Black hosts. And it started, I think, a year or 2 ago. Cool. And they talk about Golden Girls and Golden Palace.
Yeah. Awesome. Underrated show. Well, they're definitely trying to extend it. They're, it's like when Three's Company did Three's a Crowd, but just to have those, there's one person wasn't there though, right? In Golden
That's
Palace.
when B. Arthur left the show because she didn't want to work in television anymore.
Right. So it was just Sophia, Rose, and
Blanche. And then Don Cheadle and Cheech Marin.
No, that's right. Cheech Marin was on the show. Yes. Yeah. And then the not having that element, the deadpan element, to bounce off of like Rose's naivety and the harshness.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And do you think that Blanche was having as much sex as she was having?
Okay, I think that we both need to read there's a great Golden Girls book that I keep hearing about by this guy who's been interviewed on these podcasts.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll send you his episode, because he talks about meeting B. Arthur and going to her house for an interview.
Oh my God. Wow.
Which it was really hard for him to track her down. I think you'll like this story. But apparently Blanche, I don't think she was having the same amount of sex, but it was similar to her character in real life. Like, I think she had like 4 or 5 husbands.
Rue McClanahan.
Yeah.
Because she was from the South. Like she always, she was on Maude with that accent, I think.
Oh yeah. I see. I never watched, or she went All in the Family. Who was in All in the Family? And then someone was on Mama's Family. Oh, Maude was a spinoff from All in the Family.
Yes. Maude is a spinoff from All in the Family.
And then I think that Blanche was on Mama's Family or something.
Right. But Blanche was also a friend on Maude. Like he was one.
She was?
Yeah, she would show up sometimes.
I've never seen Maude.
Oh my God. Whoa.
I just want to spin this back for you. I had to draw her as Maude because for Bitch Magazine once, there was something they hired me to draw for all these people that had abortions on TV. So it was like a girl from a Degrassi, The Next Generation, and then it was Maude, and I can't remember who else. But this brings us back to the Roe versus Wade thing, which there's just nothing to say.
Yeah.
I grew up, my mom is super pro-choice. And when I was in high school, I had something called Girl Positive because I was afraid of Riot Girl because all my dude punk friends were like, "Oh, Riot Girl's so stupid." So I had something called Girl Positive, which was essentially Riot Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a meeting in my den. I made flyers. I had my phone number on them to my house. People came to my house. We were hanging in my den, like a social justice kind of like women's issues group for teenagers. And my mom came down at some point and was like, "You want to talk about rights for women? What about all women? How about unborn women? And she made us watch this VHS tape that was just like nasty pro-life propaganda of just like, like a fetus getting cut with scissors or whatever the thing was. And my friends, I was like, Mom, get out of here. No, I don't even know if we actually watched it, but she was like, if you guys want to talk about feminism, you got to talk about all women. And it was unborn women.
Yeah.
So she votes in that Catholic way of voting towards anybody that will preserve the life of an unborn child. And then if the unborn child's born to someone who's poor, she's judging them for not being able to take care of their kid.
Yes, totally, man. Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
It's a, and to have a system where the body that's supposed to take care of the people is like kind of just detached from it. It's just is just weird. And I think, I think just the fact that certain part of the population is becoming, like, I mean, the knowledge is growing the way, like, oh my God, Vivian is gonna, the shit that Vivian already knows is crazy, so by the time she gets like to voting age or older, like she's going to be light years ahead of where we're going. But then there's this whole other part of like society that's like staying still, and I think that's like who the people, when I see somebody like, everybody shits on Lauren Boebert, but like, it's really more about the people that are like voting for her because she keeps winning.
Yeah.
It really isn't about her. She might even be acting. It might even be like a persona. But people are like, oh yeah, that. And they're willing to vote against all of their like things that would help them in order to feel some sort of superiority.
Yeah.
Over like another group of people. And I guess I don't really know how you change that,
We're in a really weird time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a time where people are like, ew, Antifa. And I'm like, that means anti-fascist.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you're pro-fascist? Is that what you're saying in public now? That you're pro-fascist?
It's just like a buzzword they can say and they can kind of point, terrorism, communism, it's like the whole like, it's like it's the same thing with socialism, with the word socialism. It's like when you tell certain
taking care of everybody, that sucks.
Dude, it's like if you ever read what it's amazing that people would be like, people are so against that word, just it's like the word itself. But if you actually like looked it up, if you looked up what communism actually is or whatever, it's like,
or if you were like, are you looking forward to Social Security when you retire? Right. I got to tell you something. Socialism might be something you're interested in.
Right. Or like unemployment, like how much, if there's no unemployment, there's a lot more windows being broken. There's a lot more shit getting stolen if you don't have that unemployment, and you're going to have like, I mean, you probably have a basic uprising if you can't take care of anybody. And then once everything gets more automated, now there's like cars driving themselves, factories running themselves. It's like, almost, that dude Andrew Yang is such a fucking idiot. But like the one thing he did have, which he was trying to explain with the top of his, this is like, oh, we should do this thing where we pay everybody $2,000 a month.
Oh yeah.
And people were like, oh, fucking crazy. That's crazy. And like, but the way he explained it and the way it's like, well, there's going to be a point when the only job, I mean, even creative jobs are being taken by AI, there's like paintings being made up by computers. There's like, I think there's going to be, definitely a discernible kind of thing. I mean, human being, like I said, like human beings and vote for Lauren Boebert. So maybe there's this thing where we'll always keep on clinging to our humanity, and AI won't totally take over. But I don't know. I mean, anything that, I don't know how many, how much music is being made through AI. I'm sure it is, but I wonder if that would be, so there's going to be a point where like nobody's going to be able to work, so what's it going to be after that? It's like, and like I always think about, this is the third time I've mentioned this in this podcast, but it's the end of WALL-E.
What happens at the end of WALL-E?
Well, the end of WALL-E is the Earth is a trash planet.
Yeah.
Everybody is big skin blobs.
Yeah.
Watching TV on a floating planet,
Oh yeah.
and nobody works. They just watch TV, or maybe there's like some
Oh, and
But-
you could get like a
but-
little tube of food that just goes into your
like a-
mouth.
yeah, but everybody has no skeletons and stuff. They're just big blobs of people, and everybody's just watching TV. But they can't even live on Earth because like Wally's on Earth and it's just trash. you
I
know?
remember when Wally's looking for something out there.
Right. So that was always ever since I saw that was a cautionary tale. I was like, that's totally what's happening.
That's happening right now.
It's turning into Wally.
I was so bummed about that movie because I was so excited for it. And it was like rock camp had just happened. And I took some campers to go see it at the drive-in. And one of the campers, like this like fat girl from the Midwest who had like felt body positivity for the first time in her life, was
Mhm.
like feeling so good about herself after going to rock camp. And then Wally was just like, look at these lazy fat people. Ew, ew. And she was just bummed. You could just see her get deflated and be like, oh my God, everybody's looking at those people being like,
But I mean, I think like the sentiment is that they were like that because they weren't doing anything right. That I feel like it was a different type of fat. Not even, I'm not trying to be defensive. Yeah, like what sunk in with my head is that like, oh, they're fat. It's just like, oh no, they're atrophied. It's like,
Yeah.
like that's just what happens when you don't do anything. So I've always been kind of obsessed with that, and I was obsessed with. I feel like RoboCop is happening.
what happened in Robo? I think I saw RoboCop. I didn't
Well,
see Kindergarten Cop.
well, RoboCop is just like what I was obsessed with is that RoboCop is a mechanical person that's been built out of metal, and what they did is they saved was his brain and his spine and his eyeballs. That's all they saved,
Ew.
like in a glass, and then they put that in like a robot or whatever. And then so I was always just like, oh, like that in the Matrix was just like, oh, that's all you need. You just need the spine and the eyes,
Why do you need the spine?
Well,
why
maybe
do
there's like some sort of like functionality, and I don't know. But maybe it's probably just more. The only movie it really is Idiocracy, really, but more than anything else. How do we have all the knowledge of the universe and people still want to take people's rights away? It's amazing to me.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of just am just along for the ride. I'm just like, all right, what's happening? What new fresh horror in hell am I reading about on this day?
Yeah,
Let me see.
Totally. So all right, so we should wind down, but I want to ramp up.
Oh,
Like we've been going down.
Yeah.
Down, talking about Wally,
yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to end on a
talking
high
about
note?
Roe v. Wade. Let's see, what are our hopes for the future? Let's talk for 5 or 10 minutes about what we want to do.
Well, I'm gonna, I got kind of deflated at some point. Samantha Irby had been my dream guest, and then I asked her and she ghosted me. I'm gonna ask her again. I'm ready to ask her again. She has a new book coming out. I feel the time is right.
Yeah, getting that
I'm-
junket.
I'm ready to get back in that junket. I asked Carol J. Adams, who wrote The Sexual Politics of Meat, to be on the podcast. And she said yes and scheduled for like November. And then she like canceled. And I was so bummed, but I have a friend who's a queer historian and we're trying to think of something she could talk about in the podcast. And she was like, have you heard The Sexual Politics of Meat? And I was like, yes. I was like, you have to come on the podcast and talk about that
Yeah.
book.
Awesome.
So those are some things I'm interested in. My friend Lil Miss Hot Mess is a drag queen who does Drag Queen Story Hour, and she has been the face of groomers
Mhm.
around the world.
Ah,
So she's going to come on the podcast and talk about her book, about her kids' book about drag queens.
mhm.
And if
Wow.
things go well when I'm on the Golden Girls podcast, so good we named it, maybe I could have the people from that podcast on our podcast.
Wow.
I would love to have a Golden Girls chit chat episode.
Like I'd have to jump on at least.
You have to jump on. We could have like an episode where we watch an episode of the Golden Girls and talk about it or anything.
Be honest. Do you think it's like, see, this is another situation I get myself in a lot.
Sagittarian Matters is produced by Chris Sutton, with assistance by Ponyo Georges. Our theme music is composed by Carolyn Pennypacker Riggs of the band Bouquet. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.